Welcome back to Fridays for Future, and today we are very lucky to have my lovely wife, Philly, who's come in today to tell us a little bit about her music. So, welcome to the studio.
Thank you very much.
Your band is called Songs by Philly. What style of music would you describe this as?
Well, I would describe my music as fairly eclectic. So I'm very inspired by all sorts of different types of music, from opera to musicals to pop to folk. I'd probably describe my music, though, as a bit of a mixture of folky, a little bit jazzy, and there's some pop in there as well.
And what would you say have been some of your favourite performances over the years?
Half Moon Putney, London, without a doubt. Just sort of quirky gigs. Some weddings sometimes are really, really fun.
You've played with some relatively well-known musicians over the years in different countries, like in Dubai and in London and in the US.
Yeah, I played with the Afif quartet in Dubai, which was, they're seriously jazzy. They really know their jazz, and that was a great experience. And certainly Dubai and Abu Dhabi put on some major parties. So the performances there were, visually amazing as well. So that was really amazing. And but as I say, I do also really like the sort of quirky, smaller, London gigs as well. I also really love classical music. So some of my gigs have been in churches. And I love being in the acoustic there, and again the atmosphere, and yeah.
Would you say that your heart, though, is more into your own music and your own compositions?
Definitely, yeah. I would. I just love music as a whole, really. I just love lots of different styles and different songs. So many great songs. But I'm, the dream is always to ultimately be able to play, songs that you've written yourself with the best band possible.
Sure. You go for quite a brassy sort of bass noise, like a sort of brass trio to accompany you.
Yeah, I love playing with brass sections. As well as the piano and bass and guitar. I do like a really big sound, but it's normally quite a traditional sound. It's normally as organic as possible, and especially if we're recording, that everybody, they're real instruments in the studio all together, interacting with each other, rather than. There's a lot of electronic music out at the moment, and you can obviously make a trumpet sound just by playing a keyboard, and that I don't like so much. So, because I like the relationship with the musicians.
Tell us a bit about the evolution of your own music. So, if I'm correct, you started with a sort of a jazzy style, maybe in the kind of style of some of Marilyn Monroe's songs.
Yes.
And then sort of went on to a more sort of jazzy pop. Where are we going next with Songs by Philly?
Well, I would say it's more of a folky / Indian vibe.
Indian vibe?
Yes,
okay.
Definitely. Think Irish, India.
Because you have collaborated with tabla players in London.
Yes, the tabla player, and I absolutely love Indian music, and it's more. Yeah, I think there's definitely room at the moment for a sort of rather than having the same sound all the way through, like a jazzy sound. I'm sort of going for very acoustic to massive sounds, using different instruments from lots of exotic places, as well as traditional instruments. So one second the sound can be very bare and just my voice, and then the next it's I'm trying to build choruses and verses up to sort of euphoria.
So if we came along to a Songs by Philly concert, what kind of experience might we have?
Hopefully you'd have, listening to my voice and vocally, it would be very intimate moments, just, not using too much microphone and too many...
Would we dance, for example?
Definitely. By the end, it's sort of, you want to sort of, it's a bit like it was a bit like anything really, just sort of building up to everybody feeling really free and dancing and moving by the end, definitely. So, starting quiet and building up and bringing it back, and just sort of, but if every concert's different, every gig is different, you have to sort of, the audience play just as big a role as all of you on stage, so it's always going to be different every time.
Okay. As an actor, I've had experiences of playing in front of theatres composed of only one or two people, compared to the highlight of performing on the West End stage with a vast audience. Have you had similar experiences with your singing, from highs to the lows?
Well, you could say the lowest experience, let's have a think. I used to run this thing called Jazz by Babies in London,
right,
which was basically really, 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 really the top jazzers from the music colleges and friends of mine. We'd go around, we'd go to lovely big old churches and play to all the babies. And sometimes we'd play to a packed out baby audience. Beautiful light coming in through the church on a Monday afternoon, and all the mums are there and eating cake and drinking coffee, and all the babies are there, and it was absolutely fantastic. We had loads of different themes going on, for Valentine's Day and Christmas and Easter. And then I remember one gig in, where was it? It was in Sheen, which is near Putney, and it was a new venue for me, and I rushed there, and I was playing it that day, just thankfully with a pianist, a local pianist from the corner. Anyway, I got there, and the show must go on. One baby turned up
with his or her mum.
Was it a he or a she? I think it was a he. With his mum, and the baby. I wasn't embarrassed in front of the baby, because the baby. I think the baby had the best gig ever. But obviously, I had to. You have to keep your cool and play on exactly.
The show must go on.
The show must go on, and this baby. Had a pretty a personalised. I was asking the mum, what songs do you want as well as the jazz tunes, and we'd go into all his favourite lullabies. He had one of the most personalised, intimate gig experiences that I've ever done in London, for sure. But obviously, I wasn't going to walk out, because a gig is a gig. So
lucky little fella. Well, obviously, we're hoping for huge success for you over the coming months, and if any of you listeners would like to listen to any of Philly's music online, then you can search for Songs by Philly on SoundCloud, and you'll find 6 or 7 songs there.
I think there are 6 or 7 there. I do need to vamp up the online appearance. I am more do spend more time writing songs than doing the whole online thing. So I shall get an Instagram account as well and start putting it out there, because I'm currently working with a French musician, and we are co-writing. I've kind of written the song, but he's putting down some of the chords, and so look out for that one, and it's called Over Your Shoulder. So that will be probably, we'll put a little clip on Instagram or something. So but it would be...
Looking forward to that.
Thank you very much for having me in the studio.
Thank you so much for coming in and talking to us today. I'm not always quite as formal with my wife, but for the purposes of interviews, I hope you understand, dear listener. And once more, a huge thank you to Songs by Philly for coming in and talking to us today. Okay, until the next one, take care.
Ciao.
So that was very interesting, listening to Philly talking about her music there. Now, there are 2 reasons to listen to these podcasts, this channel, first of all, it's to listen to native speakers of English, but it's also to develop your vocabulary. And we're now going to be looking at some of the words and phrases used in that interview. So the first word I wanted to have a look at was eclectic. So eclectic means getting ideas or style from a range of sources. So I've put a picture here of some Indian spices. It's like a little bit of flavor from here, a little bit of this, a little bit of cardamom, cinnamon, paprika, whatever you want to put into that curry to stir up this interesting new creation. In Philly's sense, it means her own music coming from all these different influences. So how can we use this word eclectic? You might say to have an eclectic taste in music or clothes. Okay? To have an eclectic taste. Okay, our next word that we're going to have a look at is, on to the next one please, Oscar. Without a doubt. Now this is a phrase you use when you want to give emphasis to something. It means much the same as definitely. For example, he is without doubt the finest striker of the modern era. Okay, what does it mean? There is no doubt, there are no questions, this is definitely the case. Okay, on to our next word, which was quirky, an adjective. Quirky means peculiar, slightly odd. I've put a picture here of a school that's very close to my heart. It's a school that I used to work at in Chelsea. You might describe their uniform as being slightly quirky, old-fashioned. How else can we use this word? My other example that I wrote was, the house was decorated in a quirky manner or style. It means not normal. Now this word quirky, it doesn't have like seriously negative connotations. It doesn't mean like really unpleasant. It just means not normal. Okay, on to the next one. Philly used the phrase an organic sound. Now, organic is a word that strictly speaking comes from chemistry. Its meaning is developed naturally. So we have an organic movement in terms of agriculture, which is food that has not been grown with pesticides and various sort of additives and chemicals added in. But if we're to use this word in terms of art or music, it means that it grows, it builds sort of harmoniously. Her saxophone playing was very organic. Okay, it sounds right, it sounds sort of smooth, and it's been carefully developed. Okay, on to our next phrase, a bare sound. Was another phrase that Philly used there. Bare, well, we get this in the bare necessities. Okay, it's the only things. Yeah, Baloo the bear giving his advice to Mowgli. What do you need? You know, a little something to eat, not much more. Bare means minimal. Put some picture here of some bare floorboards. Okay, there's no carpet, there's no decoration. So what does bare mean? It means stripped down, maybe slightly rough. So a bare sound means not carefully produced, quite sort of uncut, a little bit rough. Okay, on to our next word, which was euphoria. Philly spoke of trying to create a sense of euphoria. Now, euphoria is a noun. The adjective would be euphoric. What does it mean? Well, it means ecstasy, elation. I don't mean the drug here, ecstasy. It's a feeling of excitement and sort of celebration. I felt a sense of euphoria when I saw the sea, when I arrived into the gorgeous city and saw the fantastic sights. Okay? Real excitement. Okay? Next one, please. the show must go on. Now, I've put a picture here of some stage curtains. I remember doing a play when I was very young, about 10 years old, and suddenly the whole set fell down after about the second minute of the show. And it was a show where there were sort of lots of sort of fake chairs that people were going to sit on and then fall on the floor as a result. So all the surprises were already given to the audience, but the show had to go on. You know, they'd come to watch us and we had to put on the production. So the show must go on means you've got to continue. Okay, it doesn't, you can use this phrase in a wider context, not just to do with the performing arts. If you're putting on some sort of event, you might say the show must go on. Yeah, we've got to do this. My example here was, despite the power cut, the show must go on. Okay, next one, please. To keep your cool. Now, we sometimes use cold and hot to talk about temperaments. If you're ice cold, then you're not sort of particularly emotive. You're sort of thinking straight, and whereas warm, we think of more sort of generous. Whereas if you're talking about heat and hot, then maybe a person is angry. These are different ways that we can use temperature to talk about emotions. But the phrase to keep your cool means maybe there's a load of crazy stuff going on, but you are in the middle, staying centered and calm. To keep one's composure, okay? Sometimes we might think of the metaphor of a swan swimming along or paddling along the water. You don't see all of the effort going on underneath the surface as it's paddling. It just looks very calm as it's gracefully gliding across the water. My example here, the referee kept his cool despite the protestations from the players. Thank you, Oscar. And the last phrase that you might have been like, what does that mean? A lucky little fella. Now, fella is sort of abbreviation for fellow is the standard pronunciation of this word. A fellow just means a person. It's kind of quite a colloquial word, fella. It's just useful to understand what it means. I wouldn't suggest that you immediately put it into your vocabulary. Okay, so I hope those words and phrases have been useful to you. I hope you got something from listening to the interview. We've got a load of amazing people coming onto this show in the coming weeks and months. So I would urge you to subscribe to this so that each week as we release these videos, you can be there to listen and practice your English skills. Until the next video, take care.